What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into NBR, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm rather passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I am hot about. Like this one right here to start the show. Obviously, you guys know what today was in terms of Stetson, Bennett, JT Daniels, but I want to take you back. I want to take you back to the year 2000. The University of Georgia just signed a young kid out of Central Gwinnett High School there in Lawrenceville, Georgia, named David Green. David Green went on to win 42 of 51 games over the next 4 seasons as a starting quarterback at the University of Georgia. He's arguably, and I say arguably because it is an argument, he is arguably the most beloved Georgia quarterback in the history of Georgia sports to not win a national title, okay? I think you can put him in that mix. There's a lot of guys that fit that bill, but I think he has an argument for the most beloved of all time. And I'm here to tell you that David Green would not be beloved today. David Green would be hated by about 50% of the Georgia fan base right now if today were 2001, the year after his freshman year. You know why? Because in 2001, after David Green's freshman year, do you know who Georgia signed? They signed DJ Shockley, correct? And David Green, for the next 3 years, David Green's perpetual 28, 2,900-yard seasons, right? The 20 touchdowns, the 9 interceptions, that all resulted in 11-2 and 10-2 caliber type seasons for 4 years under Mark Richt. All those things kept DJ Shockley off the field for 3 full years, and he finally got an opportunity to get onto the field his senior year. And I'm telling you right now, I know exactly how that would have played out in today's era of college football, right? I just told you 50% of you would have hated David Green, and I know why, right? I know exactly why. Because there's a portion of this fan base that still hates the right-handed David Green, aka Jake Fromm, that was in Athens from 2017 to 2019. A lot of you guys still hold a sense of resentment for him, okay? Because he, quote-unquote, kept you from Justin Fields or cost you Justin Fields. Jake Fromm went on to win 36 of 43 starts for the University of Georgia, and half of this fan base thinks he's trash. Half of this fan base tells me all the time, oh, Jake Fromm's trash. Kirby Smart made a terrible decision that cost us Justin Fields, right? He decided to leave a little bit early, honestly, because majority of the fan base kind of rubbed him the wrong way, right? You're doing the same thing right now to the one guy that actually delivered a national title to the University of Georgia. And now half the fan base right now on Twitter today is absolutely up in arms because the dude decided to come back and play football at the University of Georgia. I don't understand the necessary or the necessity to be angry about this situation. The dude delivered a title for the first time in 41 years, and you guys are upset. I don't understand that. It's beyond me. And I'm going to patch in a guy that maybe might be able to put it into a little bit better words than me, and that's Graham Coffey, a.k.a. at Dogs Out West on Twitter. Graham, can you explain this to me? You seem to me like a guy who's got a better hold on the fan base than me, but I've seen this. Look, the fan base loves both David Green and DJ Shockley. And now they're going to hate Stetson Bennett because they think they cost him JT Daniels?
Well, I mean, I think it is fair to say that I don't think we'd see DJ Shockley stick around in an era.
No, in his own words, he already said.
Right. So, but that's not really the point, right? I do think there is, like I was tweeting about this earlier, and I've had some people respond and be like, very much in my favor, and some people call me names. But like, if someone's going to come into this program, like if JT Daniels is truly elite, right? Or take JT Daniels out of it, Carson Beck, Brock Vandegrift, Gunnar Stockton, like if those guys are the alpha 5-star blue chip quarterback that every Georgia fan has been dreaming of, and that every Georgia fan feels like should be the guy at UGA with what Kirby has built recruiting wise at every other position, then those guys are going to have no problem coming in and taking that job from Stetson Bennett. And that's the craziest part with all this today for me is the guy goes and wins the first ring that the school has seen in 41 years. And somehow it's incumbent upon him to just step out of the way so that the next guy can come in. Like if the ceiling is higher than Stetson Bennett isn't a problem. If the other quarterback is better, then he's better. So that's the whole thing here that I keep getting caught up on is why does he have to step away for the next better quarterback to come in and take the job? If you're better, take the job.
That's the thing, Graham. You hit on it perfectly. Why should Stetson Bennett be upset or feel bad about being the best quarterback in the room, the guy that won the job? And why should he walk away? What's he gonna do? He's gonna go to law school? You want him to just go ahead and go to law school and give up the last year that he could potentially play football? That factors into this decision for me. I know everyone's, kind of doubted Stetson all the way up to his journey at this point in his journey, right? Everyone says, well, you're not a scholarship quarterback in the SEC. He proved that wrong. Then they said you won't be a starter. He proved that wrong. Now I'm telling you he's not going to play in the NFL. I don't think he will, right? So whatever, odds are the last snap he plays for Georgia just might be the last snaps of football he ever plays. And he's
100. It will definitely be.
And he's supposed to walk off because what? Because you think he's going to keep someone else from winning the job, or Kirby Smart's not going to play the best player? That's the crazy thing. To me, the fact that a walk-on started for the University of Georgia and won a national title proves the fact that the best player will play, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it seems that way. We also know from Stetson's accounts and Kirby's accounts and what Monken has told the media, Stetson wasn't sitting there getting competitive reps this past summer in that quarterback competition. I mean, JT Daniels was a starter. He went to media days for a reason. The plan was always JT Daniels. So this kind of conspiracy theory that's popped up, people will DM me stuff and they'll be like, I think Kirby, didn't want to win a national title with a foreign-born quarterback, which apparently if you're from California, you're foreign-born. But some of this is just crazy, man. It is. It's gone too far. And I get that people still are upset about Justin Fields and Jake Fromm and how that played out. But the reality is DeJuan Mathis was supposed to be the starter in 2020. Mm-hmm. And he didn't play well. So Stetson Bennett came in. JT was supposed to be the starter in 2021. And Stetson Bennett came in. There's never been an attachment to Stetson Bennett having this job or winning this job by anyone on the staff. It's just been how things have worked out in season with circumstances, and it is what it is. But I don't understand why anyone would look at this news today and say, I didn't read that news today and take out of it that Kirby Smart has promised Stetson Bennett the job for next year. Did you?
No, everything I've kind of been told and understand about the situation is that, I mean, he won a national title. That's great, but I'm pretty sure Georgia's fairly active right now in the quarterback free agency market in the transfer portal. I don't know how active, but I can promise you that they've contacted people. Okay, so I don't think there's anything that says Kirby Smart's not going to go out and bring in Caleb Williams or bring in Jackson Dart. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that I wouldn't put it past the guy. I mean, the last 2 off seasons he's brought in quarterback transfers. This is what he does at this point. If he feels like he's deficient or doesn't have an adequate backup or doesn't have the type of competition that he wants, he's going to go add a dude to the room. And nothing about today's news, promises Stetson Bennett to be the starting quarterback next year. That's not the case. Also, my biggest pet peeve about all this is how, because Stetson Bennett returns, now all of a sudden everyone's throwing all these other kids into the portal. Oh, this automatically means Carson Beck's going to leave. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. He's going to stick around. He's going to compete. It's just, I feel like the transfer portal has caused is this rash reaction from the fan base. And I get that, but that's why there's vitriol towards Bennett. You think Bennett's success is tied to someone else leaving your program that you have preconceived notions about their talent, when what should matter is Stetson Bennett was clearly the guy that they thought was best, so the other guy left. You kept the better of the 2 quarterbacks. But since Justin Fields goes to Ohio State and puts up a boatload of numbers, everybody thinks that this is another wrong decision. I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, and I think that, I'm often fond of saying that Twitter is not a real place. like being at the national championship game in Indy and walking around and have, some folks would come up and say hello, or you meet some Georgia fans in an elevator and chat with people. But like Stetson Bennett is actually, I think, quite beloved by the like silent majority, let's say, of the Georgia fan base. Like, I think there's a lot of people that are fine with him being the quarterback moving forward. It's just a lot of those people don't have Twitter accounts. So I think that like perception gets skewed a little bit for guys like us, because the people that we're hearing from, like there's this sort of feedback loop that's happening here. But I mean, the take that I've seen a lot today, and I don't know that it's wrong necessarily, but like I think there's a strong belief out there from quite a few people that at least part of the reason why Jermaine Burton left was Stetson Bennett staying and JT Daniels leaving. And I mean, like, it hasn't been a secret, I don't think, that Burton, I think, preferred Daniels, and they were close and had a good relationship and, played well together when they were on the field together at the end of last season. But again, like, why is that Stetson Bennett's fault? Like, like players play and coaches coach. And, if Jermaine Burton is unhappy with that decision of Stetson Bennett to stay, then he's welcome to leave. But like, it's not Kirby Smart's job or Todd Monken's job to say, oh, okay, Jermaine, we're going to do what you want us to do,
I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of the vitriol towards Stetson today was tied to the fact that Daniels hit the portal literally minutes before, and they think the two coexist. They think the two are tied together. Graham, I don't know what you've been told. I don't know what you hear, because we have completely different sources. We don't talk about these things. Hell, we just texted each other 30 minutes before this and got on here. So what I've kind of been told is the two were two complete separate decisions. Stetson Bennett returning or going did not impact whether or not JT Daniels was hitting the portal. He was going to the portal no matter what, because of certain different disagreements and disalignments with the way that Georgia plays football and runs their program, and with the way JT Daniels is as a football player. The two did not coexist from what I'm told. That was the crux of the issue that led to the portal. If that was the story, if that was the narrative that everyone went with, I think there's less vitriol for Stetson Bennett today. Okay, because people think they lost this Heisman contender because the 5'9" guy returned. That's what everyone's yelling about. But in reality, you were losing this so-called Heisman contender, from what I've been told, no matter what. That was the wall. The writing was on the wall.
No, that relationship broke down long ago.
Yes,
and I think,
and not just Kirby's, by the way. Okay, the relationship between Daniels and the rest of that team had kind of. Exactly. And the rest of the team came together. So
there's a reason why we continue to see Stetson Bennett in post-game interviews on the field, and guys,
Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis,
chanting mailman, and all that
kinds of stuff. The whole defense,
right.
All the leaders on the team were screaming this dude.
And I was watching the SEC Inside from the national championship game last night, and Karis Jackson's coming up to Stetson Bennett as the clock's winding down, like talking about being on scout team together, and like there was support for him. And I hope someday the full story will come out or whatever. I mean, like, credit to Kirby Smart, I think, for always keeping that stuff in house. Is how
man. So tight.
Yeah. Like, and I mean, I think the thing that I always take away, or that I've taken away from the last couple of years of this Georgia quarterback situation dialogue, is that like Kirby Smart is happy to take bullets and criticism from you or me or anyone in the fan base all day.
Do, right? That's
what he's not going to
coaches do.
He's not going to pitch any of these kids under the bus because he knows that's not going to help him in recruiting down the road, and he knows that recruiting is the most important thing to any college football program. So it is what it is, but I was never under the impression that JT and Stetson were, their decisions to stay or leave were related to one another. And I mean, I think if you're a Georgia fan, you need to think about two scenarios. One, what do you think the reaction would be if the guy who won the national title left and the guy, who didn't play all year stayed? Or what would the reaction be if they both left? Because that's what it seems like people want, is for Stetson to leave so the next guy can get his turn. Again, if the next guy is the next guy, then he's good enough on his own to be the next guy, and he will win that job.
Yeah, I know it's a completely different scenario because it's a quarterback and one guy won a national title, but like when Amir Speed returns, right? Last year, he got the opportunity. Once Keely Ringo proved that he was better, both in practice and in games, guess what? 5 played the rest of the season. Okay. So the same thing happened at the quarterback position this year. Once JT was unavailable, okay, and Stetson stepped in and then proved that he was the best guy moving forward, he played the rest of the way. I don't think there's ever been a moment where, he's just not going to play the guy that he, likes the most or whatever. He's trying to win games, and the recipe for winning games provided a title, and somehow there's still some disagreements. Let's talk about this because we've done enough. It almost feels like victim blaming or victim shaming at this point, because the Georgia fans that are out here screaming and hollering, they feel like they are victims here. They feel like they're victims of their own demise, basically, because they just lost someone who they think's uber talented. Thoughts on JT Daniels' time at Georgia, Graham? I know what I think about Daniels. Let's get your opinions first.
I mean, I think he's still a really talented guy. Like, I think that he has some tools, and there was some things that we saw early in the season. It looked like his deep ball mechanics had improved from the end of last season, and I thought that was promising for Georgia as an offense. But the reality of it is like you're either built to lead a program like a Georgia or an Alabama, where things are tough and you're going to get coached hard, or you're not. And I don't think that he was built for life at the very kind of upper echelon of the SEC. I think he's built for a program where there's maybe not quite as much pressure and not as high expectations, and the goals are not quite as lofty. And I think that it seems like there were all these things. There was always something going on that kept both parties from having success together in this relationship between player and program and player and coach. And it sucks because I think that Kirby Smart and Todd Monken and JT Daniels probably could have done really good things together. I don't doubt that, but I think that there was all these other extraneous influences that kept getting poured into that situation.
You know what all like continuously comes to my mind, and I know Kirby scoffed at it afterwards, the Monday after the Florida game, but when Nolan Smith, he wasn't even asked directly about Stetson Bennett. He was asked about what it feels like as a defense to know you have to go out and make plays when your offense is struggling, okay, after the Florida game, when he turned the entire game around right before the half. And he immediately goes into this all-out, full-on defense of Stetson Bennett and starts talking about using the terminology of, and I quote, "Let me tell you about the quarterback that I have now," okay? And he says, and follows it up with, the guy shows up every single day and he works. The guy comes to practice and he gets better. The guy grinds and he does this and he does that, and he's every day trying to get better, right? Let me tell you about the quarterback that I got now. When I heard that, and I keep hearing that, I don't necessarily hear, let me tell you about Stetson Bennett. I hear, let me tell you about the stuff the other guy might not have been doing. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you about the guy that was leading our program that we thought was our dude that might have just been, for show, or might have just been here really, really talented, not about what our team right now, the one that won a title, is about, which was the grind. Okay. It was about the 15 stadium steps after every single workout, right? When Kirby Smart goes through his acceptance speech, is what it looked like, right? At the national title ceremony, he spent 6 minutes talking about the work. He didn't spend 6 minutes talking about the offense or, the talented quarterback play, or it was about the work. And that, to me, when I think about all of this, that's what it boils down to. This team was about work. 13's about work. That's why the team rocked with Stetson. And for that matter, the staff does, dude. Listen to Monk. Listen to the way Monk had talked about that guy, okay? Talk to anybody around that building. They all rock with 13. So you should, as a fan base, that's the sad part to me, Graham. The dude won the job. The dude won his teammates. The dude won the coaching staff. The dude won a national title. And there's a portion of this fan base that appears he will never be able to win over.
Right. It's asinine. It is. It's dumb. Because I think at the end of the day, like, people get mad at Stetson because of the way that they think Stetson potentially influences other decisions. People are mad at Stetson staying because they think that might keep Georgia from bringing in a talent like Caleb Williams or Jackson Dart. People are mad at Stetson because they think that means Brock Vandegrift or Carson Beck are going to leave, or they're not going to have a chance to compete for the job. And I think the reality is that, like, you kind of touched on this earlier, but Kirby Smart's program since day one has always been about you earn your position in practice. And the quarterback position, we found out this year more than ever, was the same story. You had to earn your position in practice, and JT Daniels didn't, and Stetson Bennett did. And that's why he got to play. So good news if you're one of those Georgia fans that's freaking out because you just really don't think that Stetson Bennett is going to be the answer for another season. If he's not the best quarterback in practice, then he won't be the guy that, rolls out there for 12, 13 games next fall. So I think my biggest thing with all this is, like, we've watched Georgia, under Kirby Smart, like in 2017, they came to this game, that final game, and they didn't quite get over the hump. And then they went through the process of getting back, and they cashed in the opportunity this time. Like, I think you can give them, that staff, the benefit of the doubt at this point, that they're gonna do what's best for the football team and for the program, and that they want to win a national title or a second national title or 6 national titles just as bad as anyone in the fan base. And I promise you, they probably want to win it a lot more than any of you out there. So not any of you, but this is what these guys go and do every single day of their lives. Like, they are striving for these goals. So I can promise you that an emotional decision over a 5'9" quarterback is not going to keep them from trying to reach that.
If Kirby Smart lost to Alabama again in the national title game because Stetson Bennett was a starting quarterback, y'all would have burnt his house down. Like, there was so much pressure on that decision. He never wavered, and he freaking won. He freaking won, and everyone still does the thing. They're doing the thing. Let's do the thing about Jermaine Burton, dude. Let's talk about this a little bit. I think, there was definitely some rumblings that this was a potential. I was telling guys over on Patreon this summer that, this type of stuff was going to happen. A contributor that just up and leaves, and you're like, that guy should have been happy. Like, why is he upset? What's going on there? I think that's more to do about portal, just portal culture in general. And let's do a nameless and faceless comparison. Okay. Let's just talk about it. When you have a track record through your adolescence or through your preparatory career, in my opinion, as a scout and an evaluator, okay, I'm telling you, moving forward, I will evaluate these players differently. Guys that start at program A, go to B, go to C, go to D, maybe even E. There's some kids that I've covered in the recruiting industry that have been to 4, sometimes 5 schools, okay?
Right.
There is no, responsible or a feeling of responsibility for those individuals. They will up and leave. They have a tendency to do so. I'm not blaming it. I'm not saying it's the right or wrong. I'm just saying, as an evaluator, I will take into account the fact that, hey, you've been to 3 or 4 schools in your high school career. I think there's a high chance that you will transfer the moment you are unhappy, or in today's day and age of college football, the moment someone offers you a sweeter deal with more NIL packages and more playing time, the moment someone can recruit you enough to get you out, just like they may or may not have done in high school, the more likely you as an individual are likely to do that. So I personally will be weighing these things moving forward as an evaluator. I'm not going to go all in on a kid that I think might be great at Georgia and might ball out through 2 seasons and may be the second leading receiver over that 2-year time span, right? If you add it all together, I might evaluate that just a little bit differently, Graham. That's all I'm going to say.
No, I think that's very fair. And I mean, I've had some of those same thoughts today. I think Burton is a talent. Like, there's no like I'm not gonna ever sit here and act like Jermaine Burton's not a very talented wide receiver, because he is, and we saw that talent flash in a lot of big moments over the last 2 years. At the same time, he's a guy that missed 80% of spring and fall practices leading into the 2021 season because he had that knee and then he had an ankle.
Hyperextended the knee, had a high ankle sprain in camp, and then had a quad or I think it was a groin injury mid-season, like week 4. So banged up the whole time.
Yeah, and I mean, to his credit, he went out and played, I think, in some games early this season where he wasn't 100% healthy. And, there were some things that I thought he improved upon as the year went on. I thought his downfield blocking and his willingness in that regard looked better towards the end of the season than it did against Clemson in week 1. But at the end of the day, like, that's a guy who has always gone to whatever situation is going to be maybe the easiest, softest road, right? Like the situation where he's going to be featured and a stud, and he has the talent to be a high round NFL draft pick. So I understand, him, if he feels like I need to go do this somewhere else to be where I want to be in the NFL draft in 12 months, that's his right. And that's okay. But like, I also look at that Georgia wide receiver room. I mean, A.D. Mitchell, like that's a guy that's going to demand reps. There's a lot of these young guys that are demanding targets. 3 of your top 4 wide receivers this year are freshmen.
I think the final straw for Jermaine Burton, the writing on the wall, if you will, for Jermaine Burton, go back and watch Michigan and Georgia, or Michigan and Alabama, those 2 games. You'll notice Ladd McConkey started taking reps at Z, something that I hadn't seen all year. I mean, A.D. Mitchell had been taking reps at X, and Jermaine Burton had been taking reps at Z. When Ladd McConkey was in, Ladd was taking reps from Kieris all season in the slot, right?
Right.
I noticed against Michigan when they went 12 personnel, Ladd McConkey was playing the Z. It wasn't Jermaine Burton. I tweeted about it, and literally the next play, Jermaine Burton goes for like a 45-yard catch. Okay, so he had some shine and got a ball, but it went completely unnoticed that Ladd McConkey's taking reps from this dude. Ladd was taking X or Z reps from him, and when that happened, the rumors that this could happen make a lot of sense. That the guy's going to leave. This dude that same draft or same recruiting class, 2020. Yeah. I mean, those guys are the same age. If he's taking reps from you into the season during a title run, by God, he's going to be doing it next year to start the season too.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I wasn't fully aware of that development, but yeah, I mean, I think that just like you're saying, to kind of add a layer to it, like look at what Georgia values in wide receivers, and it's like to be a guy that's on the field 40, 50 snaps a game at wide receiver for Georgia, you got to love the dirty work. You got to be, you got to have that Roseme in you where you might not have seen a ball all day, but by God, when it's time for you to block somebody one-on-one and spring the game-winning touchdown, you're going to relish it, and you're going to be just as, if not more excited about making that block than you would have been if you were the guy running the ball. And I don't know that Jermaine Burton has ever been that guy, and that's okay. Like, that doesn't mean he's not going to have a talented career at the next level necessarily. It's just, I think that he's a guy that knows he can go somewhere else and be made assurances that he's going to be on the field, and he's not going to have to spend this offseason looking over his shoulder and fighting for reps.
Man, we are 6 days into 8 days. I guess January 11th, the day after the national title game, was the first time you had portal guys enter, but we're literally a week and a half into this for Georgia fans. Graham, as well as I do, this is going to get worse before it gets better. I mean, until until Greg Sankey steps up and does what everyone knows he's going to do, which is actually put rules into place about this, he's not going to let his own people eat themselves. That's not what this is going to be. I don't think he's going to allow that. He's going to put some type of sanction. If you transfer if you transfer in January or in the spring semester, you have to sit out the fall. If you transfer in the fall, you got to sit out the spring, things like that. Like, he's going to have to put some type of sanctions on these, at least to clear up some of these roster numbers, because nowadays the roster dates are all jacked. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I have no clue where the number is right now at Georgia. I mean, I got 30 names on a list of draft declarations and transfer portals of in and out roster fluctuation going up and down. Take into account the 17 early enrollees as well. But I'm here to tell you that if you're a fan freaking out today, just buckle up. Like, it's going to get worse before it gets better. So just know that, but also know that, all these things eventually are going to get much worse, in the sense that I think kids are going to enter the portal, seek representation, and go out and field offers, Graham. That's what we're going to be in 6-7 months. If we're not careful, you're going to have, instead of Jermaine Burton just hitting the portal and being gone, you're going to have guys like Jermaine Burton hitting the portal and calling USC and saying, hey, what NIL package you got for me? And USC saying, I got 200,000. And then calling Oregon and saying, what do you got for me? And Oregon saying, well, I got 210. And then they just got this, what do you have going on, until the number's $350,000 in NIL. And Jermaine Burton comes back and says, hey, Kirby, you got $500,000? Because if not, I'm leaving. And then he's just going to leave. Like that's where we're going to end up, because of this combination between one-time transfer availability and NIL. It's a mess, as Marty Huggins would say.
It is a mess. It's an absolute mess. And I think that, we need some windows of, if you want to leave during the spring, then you have these dates to do that by. You get like maybe a post-spring practice window, and then that's it, like we need, like, I mean, honestly, turn this into a television event, because by God, I would love nothing more than to like sit at home one afternoon like we do on signing day and watch all the chips fall at once. Like, that would make incredible television. So or
just like the biggest, like, I guess TV time, sports talk radio, all that stuff is NBA free agency. It's like 2 weeks of just like mayhem. Now, there's a bunch of, tampering going on. Deals are already made even before free agency opens up, just like there is right now. But if you told me that from what would it be? I guess the end of the spring semester, like end of May into like 1st of June, there's this 2 or 3 week period where all the portal madness goes down and everyone's a free. Like, let's do that, because I would be on YouTube with Graham Coffee for 36 hours straight, and we would just be talking about roster movements, because that's what it would be. If we're going to do this, if we're going to mainstream it, if we're going to make it, news every single day, to where guys like me have to write portal articles about every single freaking kid that enters it, like, if that's what it's going to be, let's do it. Concise it into 2 weeks. Yeah, concise it into a 2 weeks time span, so I can take a friggin' vacation at some point in my life.
And you got to announce your NIL package too.
100%. It has to be publicly traded information. Let's do some Q&A. You want to do some Q&A?
Yeah, man.
Let's open it up. We'll do 10 minutes Q&A. If you guys want to load up those questions, hit us up right now in the YouTube comments. I know we're streaming live on Twitter right now. Graham, while we have a lull in the action, I didn't even introduce you properly. Tell people where they can find you right quick.
You guys can find me on Twitter at Dog Out West. And then you can find my podcast / YouTube show, Dog Sports Live, on YouTube or wherever you like to get your podcasts from.
Absolutely. So we got our first question. It comes from Top Dog Talk. It says, what needs to be the biggest priority in your opinions, playoff expansion or portal regulation? Graham, we'll start with you. Again, I know what I feel about this.
Portal regulation. I don't think
100%.
We need playoff expansion, personally.
No.
I know some people hate that. Some people agree with me on it. If you want to go to 8, I guess that's fine. Whatever. Put the first round on campus, in my opinion. But this portal stuff is out of control. There needs to be, like you were just talking about, a beginning and an end.
Yeah, I would imagine at some point they put some type of windows on it. Again, Greg Sankey will not let this ruin college football. He's getting too much of complaints, man. I know coaches hate player mobility and player freedom anyways, and like they want all the power and they're obsessive over power. But I can't tell you how many coaches I've talked to that are just like, hey, if it's like this for the next 2 or 3 years, I'm going to high school or I'll go be a damn regional scout for an NFL team. I don't give a crap. I'll go make 80 grand. I'm not dealing with this for $250,000. Like they won't. We got one of my favorite questions, which is food oriented. Both of us right here, favorite candy for the two of you. Graham, I'll start. I'm a Shockers guy. They've turned them into sweet tart sours, I believe now. But they used to be the old traditional Shockers. That's me. I'm a sour candy guy, not really a chocolate guy.
I got you. I'm a big Reason guy. Your chocolate covered caramels.
Okay.
Reason? Yeah.
No, I have not.
Oh, get yourself a bag next. I mean, it's a chew. It's a good chew. I like I like to have a nice chew. So that's my thing.
Very, very texture based. I like that.
Indeed, yes.
So in depth as most of your analysis is. Here we go. We got Nathan. Nathan asked, which guy who didn't play much this season takes a big jump next year, and why is it JDJ, Jamon Dumas Johnson? Graham, you can go ahead and attack this one.
It is JDJ.
Yeah.
I think
maybe Kamari Lassiter, but maybe Kamari Lassiter, but a JDJ for sure.
Jackson Meeks is another one I like. Yeah.
Well-rounded guy, just well-rounded, really good at just about everything.
Yeah, his like just kind of. I was watching him a little bit warming up before the national championship game, and just the way that his body is, like he's kind of just growing into his length a little bit and is filling out well. I think he's going to be a guy that can do a lot of different things, like you're talking about. I don't know that he's going to excel at any one thing, but I think he'll be, good at so many things that'll force him onto the field at some point.
So you got a guard spot available up for grabs, right? With Justin Schaefer heading out. Tate Ratledge coming back, though, right? Assumed to be healthy, you would imagine, come August. Whatever Warren Erickson's got going on. We don't know if there's a spot available, but names like Micah Morris and Jared Wilson, like, strike me as names to look out for, considering I think guard was kind of an issue this year at times.
Yes.
So maybe they open that up to, an actual battle. Someone's going to have to step up for Lewis Seen at safety. Is it Dan Jackson? Is he just going to man that the rest of the time at Georgia and be Tyler Sinceri? Maybe that's what's going to happen. But yeah, in terms of young guys, I look at that interior offensive line. Everyone else you kind of know, right? Denylon Morissette for me as a receiver that can get on the field early as a freshman, because I know the caliber of wits he has from his neck up. So he won't have any problems with busted routes or busted coverages, which as a young wide receiver, that's the easiest way to get onto the field. And he's just really well polished. So those are some names of guys that I would be on the lookout for. I mean, other than that, your edge rushers, they're going to be the same. I mean, Nolan Smith and Robert Beal coming back.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to add depth in that room, whether it's Chaz Chambliss, MJ Sherman, or one of the young guys, one of the, Michael Williams or Marvin Jones Jr. Someone's going to have to step up at the edge position as well.
Yeah, I mean, one that bears mentioning too, I think, for the defense, is just because we didn't get to see him at all this year, would be Tyke Smith. I mean, I think that's a guy that's going to have a huge impact once he's finally healthy and on the field. Fan
of the program. Shout out Tyke Smith. Always in, man. Always in and around the content, always watching. So good people there. Nice. Here we go. We got which freshman, if any, do you see starting next season? Malachi Starks is a name that pops off for me. Too good of a football player not to be on the field. Don't know how or where he starts. Honestly, don't really know of what their true intentions are of him or with him to play him. I would imagine they play him at true safety. And yeah, he does have an opportunity to play as a freshman. Maybe, just maybe, one of these true freshman corners is the real FNDeal.com, like Derek Stingley good. They just turn out to be. Yeah, maybe Dalen Everett or Jaheim Singletary is that good, Graham. I don't put that out of the realm because we've seen young corners step into college and be ready to play.
Yeah, I also wouldn't. I mean, maybe not starting, but with the way that Georgia rotates their defensive linemen, those guys get pretty equal snaps, even if they're not starters sometimes. I wouldn't be shocked to see Michael Williams by the at least by the end of the season pushing for 15, 20 snaps a game up front. But man, the other one that I kind of keep coming back to, and we talked about this on signing day, Branson Robinson. I mean, I know that Georgia has great running backs coming back in McIntosh and Milton, and those guys have waited their turn, and they deserve to. I think they've proven that they're ready to get the ball. But
they went 5 deep in a playoff game against Michigan.
Right, exactly.
They went 5 deep in a playoff game. Chris Fowler was like, Dejeun Edwards, and I'm laughing because I'm like, there's no way this dude was prepared to go 5 deep on the depth chart in a playoff game. No shot.
He should have been, though.
Yeah,
because
probably.
We saw Dejeun Edwards pretty much every week of the season this year with the way Georgia was beating teams. But, yeah, I mean, I think that Branson is just going to be too good to keep off the field. Probably not a starter, obviously, but, like, I think that we'll probably see him push to be sort of that third back, right? That'll be an interesting battle.
All right, this is a question, Graham, I don't think I'll ever be able to answer, and I think this is the one that needs the inside the room 30 for 30, like special doc on. Brent asked, why do you think Stet was originally a third string guy with no reps coming into the season, but jumped so easily over Beck, who was announced the number 2 going into the season early on? Brent, I'll actually change your question. I believe Kirby Smart said Tuesday of that week, he told the media that Carson Beck is the second string quarterback. Okay. That was while they were figuring out, this was before JT Daniels' injury, I believe, was announced. So he rode Carson's my number 2 literally up until the Saturday of UAB in terms of public statements. So this is a question, guys, I get all the time on Discord. I get all the time on Patreon. I get all the time on Twitter. I get it here on YouTube. It's the one question I can't answer. I've heard a multitude, a variety of reasons. I've heard, maybe Beck was bad that week during practice. But I've also heard Beck was great that week during practice. I've heard maybe they wanted to go with the older guy that they had more continuity with the 2s unit that they knew they were going to kind of have to roll out a wide receiver because they were banged up. I've heard a variety of, reasons for why Kirby Smart went with Stetson Bennett in that moment, but I don't know the true answer. Graham, do you have anything?
I mean, I don't have like the answer.
The answer, yeah. No, I don't think anyone does.
I've always been given the impression it was between the ears thing. It was kind of a leadership / just known commodity. Yeah, the intangibles, and I think that Georgia thought they were in a 1 game type of situation at that point in time with the JT Daniels injury, and it was like, well, we know enough about Stetson to know that he's not going to roll out there and lose to UAB. So,
all right, next one comes in from our guy Dan Kiley, going by DJ over here on YouTube. Says, will Georgia bring in Hines Ward or Terrence Edwards? Both would be home run hires, in my opinion. He prefers Terrence Edwards. I get a lot of questions about this one too, because people know that I'm always over or around Terrence's workouts. The last I'd spoken to Terrence about, and I don't want to report anything for him, I first of all think he would be extremely qualified for the job. Think he would be ready to rock, not only like with the way Georgia's kind of changing their model of recruiting to more of a regional basis because of NIL, because most of these kids, if you track where they're going back into the portal, most of them are going back closer to home. So why not recruit the kids that are already close to home? You don't have to worry about it. Okay. You don't have to worry as much about kids leaving or entering the portal. So he's locally a name that people know, right? Young wide receivers still. That name, Terrence Edwards, carries weight. That first and foremost matters on the recruiting trail here in Georgia. Secondly, I watched what he's done with wide receivers. I've seen it. And Miles Campbell, I feel free saying this about him, tight end up at Tennessee. Miles Campbell was not an SEC tight end before he showed up at Terrence Edwards. He wasn't. The first day I watched him, he was not an SEC caliber football player. He played in every single football game this year for Tennessee as a true freshman after 4 months of training with Terrence. Okay. Ladd McConkey was not an SEC football player when he showed up the first day I saw him. I told him, you're not ready. You're going to go and get eaten alive. Like you're not. Okay. So you need to go to Terrence. You need to train with him, get better, be ready to go to school. Sure enough, he was there 3 months, went to college, you hear nothing but great things the moment he gets there about how polished he actually was as a receiver once Terrence got his hands on him. So I think Terrence is uber talented and uber qualified. The problem is this world of football and these coaches, this mythology that you have to go grind as an analyst in Podunk, Montana, and work the high school circuit all the way up and work for no money and Peter Patter your way up the ladder before you actually get a position coach. Hines Ward is an NFL Hall of Fame caliber football player, and he had to go coach at Florida fucking Atlantic as a wide receivers coach before people actually gave him merit as a football guy. Okay, they did the same thing to Deion Sanders, and now guess what he's doing? Taking the #1 overall player in the country,
stealing recruits,
stealing recruits to Jackson State. So I don't understand why there's this narrative that you have to go work at some JUCO in Missouri and be miserable and climb the ladder that way because you got to take your licks. I'm here to tell you that if Terrence Edwards has to quote unquote take his licks, if I were his agent, we play Agent Brooks on this channel all the time. I'm telling Terrence, why the hell would you do that? You're coaching kids all the time now. You make decent money. You have a great life, and you get to impact kids anyways. Why are you going to go make $35,000 to be some analyst at Georgia because you got to go take your licks? No. If they offer him the position coaching job, which he is more than qualified for, he should take it. Same thing for Hines Ward. But again, Hines Ward played 12 years in the league, is a name that everyone knows, and he had to go coach at Florida Atlantic to go take his licks. I don't get that. It's beyond me.
Well, that was very well put.
Sorry.
I don't know how much I can add. No,
it is nothing but rants, baby. You showed up at nothing but rants.
Impassioned. I enjoyed it. I mean, I did see that Hines Ward is being interviewed for the Texans head coaching job right now. So,
and I don't want to do this unless if they hire him, I'm willing to be wrong here. Rooney Rule is what I'm calling right there, because that's what that is. That's what that is, man.
I know, but you'd think that they would find somebody that is a little closer to the top of the food chain. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I think he's going to be a good hire for whether that's position coach,
whatever it is,
head job, whatever it is. So, all right, actually, instead of just kind of parroting what you've already said here, because I agree with how you answered the question. If we see Terrence Edwards take the job, does Jermaine Burton withdraw his name from the portal?
No, I think Jermaine Burton is signed, sealed, and delivered wherever he's going already. I would imagine these are calculated decisions, man. Like
I hear you.
This idea that he was going to hit the portal was floating for like a week, right?
It's been floating for months. I mean, I've been hearing it since October.
Yeah, so like the offers have been being fielded. I would imagine.
I know, but Terrence is his guy, dude.
Terrence is his guy since he was 14 years old. Let's get on to the next one. Are we committing to being a tight end running back featured offense rather than featuring wide receivers like Bama? I mean, Brock and Washington are beasts, and we have the running backs, so I get it. I have always, from the start, from day one that he's been there, my terminology for Todd Monken has been, and I quote, a chameleon coordinator. If you watch him over the years, he morphs his offenses to whatever they need to be, right? When Justin Blackmon was the best receiver in the country, they gave the dude 250 targets a year, right? When Brock Bowers is your best player, you're going to force feed him the football and design ways for him to get the rock. They were the best version of themselves this year was a 13 personnel football team. If you go back and look at him, a 12 personnel football team mostly. If you go back and look at him during his days in Tampa, when Evans was hurt, OJ Howard was kind of banged up. They were throwing a bunch of interceptions. They had Cameron Brate and OJ Howard on the same roster. When they were healthy, they were a 12 personnel football team. He goes up to Cleveland the next year. He's got Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. He becomes a 21 personnel football team. Like, the dude just morphs into whatever the talent is around him, and that's what makes him a good coordinator, in my opinion. So I think that's more to do with Monken and the current situation of the roster more so than an overall philosophical change, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's all correct. I mean, I'm really fascinated by who Georgia's going to hire as wide receiver coach. I think that Cortez Hankton did a really good job, and I think that staff on the whole, identifying a guy like A.D. Mitchell, who was a 3-star, they had some big hits on some kind of diamond in the rough sort of prospects.
Same.
But Georgia shouldn't be surviving on on 3-star evals to field their to fill up their wide receiver room. Like Georgia should be able to go and pull the type of that's the one area you can kind of question the recruiting over the last few years, right? Like,
I mean, but you know how hard they get counter recruited at the wide receiver position.
I know.
It's like,
but I mean, I think
that dude did a good job in my opinion of recruiting at a high 3, low 4-star level at the wide receiver position when every single high flight Kojo Antwi. Do you know how many USC and Ohio State showed him over and over again? They've never had a 1,000-yard receiver since Terrence Edwards. They're like, you train with this dude. He hadn't played since 2000, and he's the best receiver they've ever had. And college football's completely changed in the last 2 decades. Like, what's going on? They've been doing that, and he's still recruited really well. So I'll give him credit, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get that. But I think a couple things to think about. One, I mean, I do think that Georgia, some of this tight end, running back kind of base stuff that we're talking about, like part of that was designed to take advantage of what Stetson Bennett does well. Mm-hmm. I think that this offense, maybe in its intended form, probably would have looked a little bit more wide open, a lot more vertical. That's just my personal speculation. But I also think that to answer that question, it's, what kind of talent is there going to be at quarterback? I mean, if Georgia lands Arch Manning, or if Gunnar Stockton or Brock Vandegrift is a hit, and that's the guy that's under center, then I think that you're going to see them make those wide receivers look really, really good. And they already are really, really good, but make them look even better. So I think it's just a matter of personnel. And like you said, Todd Monken is the guy you want in that scenario, because he's going to run an effective offense with
just going to morph into whatever he needs. All right, we'll take 3 or 4 more questions. We'll go to Alex B right here. He says, if Monken doesn't leave this offseason, do you think that means he's in it for the long haul at Georgia? Here's what I'll say about this, and we kind of had a segment about it, I think it was last NBR, about this idea that he's going to go back to the NFL. You look through Todd Monken's history on his Wikipedia, the dude doesn't stick around long at all. I think his longest tenured stay is like 7 years at a Northwestern State job out in Montana or something like that in the early 2000s. Okay. Since then, as soon as he became a position coach at a D1 level, he's been bouncing around every 3 years, changing jobs. I believe it was 9 stops in 21 seasons of football. I think 8 stops in the last 14, something astronomical like that. So, first of all, I don't know if he's in it for the long haul anywhere, but I will tell you this. If it continues like it's currently going right now in terms of the NIL and the portal and things like this, if Todd Monken feels as if he cannot coach the way that he always has, he will take his butt to the NFL, because it's just less to deal with. It's less stress to deal with. And I'm here to tell you that he's never really had the full keys to the operation as an OC. If you go back and look at his day in the NFL, if you go back and look at his days with Tampa, Dirk Cutter was his head coach during that time. Dirk Cutter is a micromanaging freak when it comes to the offensive coordinating. And Freddie Kitchens was his head coach out there in Cleveland. He didn't even get to call his own plays. He was designing them in the dirt Monday through Saturday, and the other dude was calling the plays. So he's kind of been slapped around and slapped in the face in the NFL level as an offensive coordinator the entire time. So I do believe that if he gets a defensive head coach that calls him and says, you will finally have your own operation, do whatever it is, you'll be the assistant head coach, and we've got a pretty decent quarterback situation. Like, for example, Las Vegas. If they go out and hire a defensive-minded head coach, David Carr is a quarterback you can win with. Now, granted, you're in the AFC West, which is brutal right now, but nonetheless, I think that's the situation that's going to pull this dude away, because he's never been meant and cut out for college. Like, this dude doesn't want to be in high school basketball gyms in freaking January. Like, he's a football nut. The best thing that ever happened to Georgia for Todd Monken's sake in terms of sticking around was COVID, because he got to recruit on Zoom and just talk football and film. Like, that dude loved that shit. Now he's got to go out and chase kids and tell them how much he loves them. Like, that's not his bag, man. He just wants to play. He just wants to coach football.
No, I mean, and he wants to, he's going to coach you hard. And a lot of these kids these days, some of them respond well to it, but a lot of them don't. I think that he's probably not in it for the long haul at Georgia, even if he is there another year. I think that he's a guy that could get a head coaching job somewhere, or like you're saying, take a full OC job. But I don't think he's going to leave Georgia just to leave Georgia.
No.
I think that if he leaves Georgia, it'll be for like full control over an offense somewhere, and it'll be a job with personnel that he's excited to coach, and it'll check a lot of boxes.
Absolutely. Well, Graham, one more time, plug your stuff, man. Let people know how they can find you for now.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at DogOutWest, and you can find our video show / podcast, Dog Sports Live, on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and wherever else you like to get your podcast from.
Appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you soon. That was Graham Coffee, aka at Dog Out West, not plural, just a singular dog. My boy DAWG Out West. Also a film guy, in the sense that he does it with a lot more analytical based stuff. A lot smarter than me. I'm big, dumb, guy, big, strong, fast. That's me. He does it in a different way, in a much, in an intriguing way in and of itself. So 2 different styles, 2 different brands, about going about the same way of the same goal, and trying to accomplish the same mission, which is to educate people on what good football looks like, right? What's right and what's wrong schematically, things like that. So you're not freaking out about what it is that your football team's doing on Saturdays. So yeah, that's what we do here on this platform. We do it as well over on Patreon, patreon.com/Brooks Austin. Hit that thumbs up button before you head out. We appreciate you for being here. We'll see you next time.